What's going on, guys? It's Joshua Coleman here in Atlanta, Georgia. The title of this video is going to be, what are you willing to sacrifice? So you hear all these questions, all these things swirling around here or there. Oh, I did this. Oh, I did that. Oh, I've achieved this. Oh, I've achieved that. And you kind of wonder, everybody is, a photographer. Everybody's a model. Everybody's an artist. If you got a camera phone or you got an Instagram account, you're doing it all. And there are some greats that are out there. But since you have so much access, or somebody's going to say it's so saturated that everybody feels they can do everything. And I don't want to discourage anybody if you feel like that's truly your calling, but sometimes the quality isn't the same. So what I want to address is, so many people I've encountered or I talked to feel like they can't do something, feel like they can't become something, or feel like, my 9 to 5, or me just going to school, or me staying in this box, or they have these limiting beliefs. And my question to them, after we kind of pick the brain, after we kind of have the conversation and, we develop some rapport, we kind of get to know each other, understanding that I'm coming from a place of love. I'm coming from a place that I want to help. I'm coming from a place of understanding. And my question is, what are you willing to sacrifice? I'm going to say it again. What are you willing to sacrifice? Who are you willing to become? What are you willing to give up? Are you willing to give up sleep for your dream? Are you willing to give up money for your dream? Are you willing to give up the person you are now for your dream, for the goal, for the thing that you want to accomplish? Or are you so tired? Or are you so programmed? Are you so conditioned to stay where you are because that's all you believe you can? And understand that your beliefs are going to dictate where you believe you can go. It's going to dictate your actions, and your actions are going to dictate your impact, because what you believe is going to form your perception, and your perception is going to shape your actions, and your actions are going to dictate how far you go. So I'll ask again, what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice who you are for what you can become? Are you willing to sacrifice where you are for where you can be? But see, the beautiful thing about this is, when I say sacrifice, everybody thinks it's right now, and everybody's like, oh, I got to pay this bill. Oh, I got to have the savings for this. Oh, and it's instantly fear. And fear isn't necessarily bad if it's placed correctly. And I'm not simply talking about the fear of failure. A healthy fear will keep you safe. A healthy fear will keep you aware of your surroundings. A healthy fear would be like, I'm not going to be able to provide for my wife and my children, so I got to go that much harder. But I got to be smart. I got to have the mindset. I got to have the willingness to expose myself. And I use that word very deliberately, because exposure is big. I have to be able to expose myself to new information. A lot of us grew up or came up in a model that is old, or it's outdated, or it was formed or formulated, or a system put in place before where we are now. Believe it or not, there was a time where the internet wasn't as big as it is now. Smartphones, the cell phone itself. I can remember a TV where you had to go and you turn the knob, and you got the hanger in the back trying to get the antenna so you can get it. Or you have the snow, for those that know, like the static that's on your television. I was alive around that time. I may be dating myself. To where now there's a generation of people that are coming up that know nothing less than a smart TV or Wi-Fi password. Saw an interview with a young girl that was in Hollywood, and they asked her if she knew what an encyclopedia was. And she said, what, Google? But understand that each one of these entities that we're seeing now, and as we've transitioned with technology, as we've grown with technology, at some point somebody had to sacrifice something. The Wright brothers, being uneducated in their time, looked up and saw the birds and said, I want to create a machine, or I want to create something because I'm supposed to be up there. So we could say at that time they sacrificed reputation, because there's plenty of people that are telling you that you can't do it. So are you willing to sacrifice the current circle that you're in? I'm going to say it again, because that's going to hurt somebody. Are you willing to sacrifice the circle that you're in to get where you're supposed to be? Are you willing to operate in your gift long enough? Woo! Are you willing to operate in your gift long enough for you to understand that this is your purpose? This is what was given to you. This is what the Creator said you were created for. This is what you're supposed to do. Where it's not just about the money. Yes, the money will come. Yes, if you hone your gift, if you spend time with your gift, if you put in your 10,000 hours, if you put in the 30,000 hours, if you're willing to commit to finding what that gift is, honing it, and then putting it out there, when you're fulfilling your purpose, as they say, you'll never work a day in your life. But what are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to give up the time, the good time now? Or in the words of Dave Ramsey, whether you follow his doctrine or not, live like nobody has ever lived before so you can live like nobody's ever lived before. Are you reading books? How are you being exposed? And at the time when these things were happening in my life, I didn't really realize what was going on. I remember coming up and being broke, or as we, in my mind, it was like poverty, poor, and then there was us. Not having, growing up in a lack mindset, in a poverty mindset, you got to get everything you have and you got to spend it because there's not going to be anything left. Or everything you've earned by your hours worked goes right back out on liabilities. Not knowing that there was a different code, not knowing that there was a different way of living, not knowing that just because they lived on that side of the town, it's not saying that they just had these people or those people or they were special in any kind of way. They're human just like you're human. And what gets me, and I'm getting emotional and I'm getting fiery because I'm so passionate about this thing. Nobody's better than you. Somebody may be more supremely talented in an area. LeBron James, and with the passing of Kobe Bryant and his daughter, these people committed hours upon hours to banging on their craft. And yes, they had the height. And yes, they put in the time. And maybe they had a natural jump shot. But that doesn't mean that for every Kobe, for every LeBron, there's a Zuckerberg, there's a Bezos, there's a Oprah Winfrey, there's a Jack Ma, there's a Jay Morrison, there's a Dr. Boyce Watkins, there's a Mother Teresa, there's an Eric Thomas, there's a Tony Robbins, there's a Christopher Broome, there's a Mike Nelson, there's a Lisa Nichols. I mean, it's endless. There's a Will Smith, there's a Denzel, there's a Izzy Real, there's an Earthquake, there's a Kevin Hart, there's a Dave Chappelle. I mean, the list goes on. These people just committed time to their craft. They took the L's. They put the time in. They were willing to sacrifice their circles. They sacrificed their time. They sacrificed their money. And they've achieved this greatness. And I'm not saying that you want to win on that scale. You may not want to be a billion-dollar business owner. You may not want to be a real estate mogul. You may just want to be able to sit home with your baby. You may just want to be able to buy your time back to where you can be with your family. You may just want to travel the world. You may just want to understand cultures. You may just want to be able to go and do what you want to do when you want to do it and not be tied to a 9-to-5 or to a job, or even if you're self-employed. But if you're not there, nothing gets done. There is a such thing as residual income, but it's going to take a sacrifice. It's going to take you understanding why you're here. What is your purpose? When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I acted as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And I'm not here to kill your dream. I'm just here to wake you up. Because I talk to too many people. I mean, they're wonderful people. They're hardworking. They're honest. They grind and they just stuck in a mindset. They're stuck in this conditioning to believe that you're less than you are, that you have to be a part of the company, that you have to come to these four walls to do something, and that's not true anymore. If you got access to the internet, whether it be cell phone, laptop, desktop, go to your library if they're still around. Go to the coffee shop, get with a friend. You may not have no friends. Get out and talk to somebody with the internet access. You got exposure to all the information you could ever need. They have classes you can learn the code. You can learn the code online for a class that's $10 to $15. You're going to blow that on a sandwich or at the club or whatever the case may be. That's a trip to Walmart for some people. And that's if you go in and just get what you went there to get. Food Lion, wherever you're from. You got to get that exposure. I was working at McDonald's. I don't even think I was making $7.25, and a guy walked in and had a pen on that said, "I'm looking for 3 business-minded people." He said he liked my smile, he liked my charisma, and it sounded like I had a business mind. Whether I was being sold or not, I believed him. Because while I was working there, as in the recent movie Harriet, about Harriet Tubman, where she says, "I was enslaved, but I was never a slave." Understand that, because somebody missed it. Just because you're in something doesn't mean you're of something. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. The enslaved mentality, the bells ringing, the classes for information you may not use. They never taught us how to create jobs. They never taught us how money worked. But they taught me 1 + 1 = 2 so that I can get on the line and know that if I put this in that, it's going to equate to this. And then we can move the assembly line down. They created employees, not bosses. But that gentleman took me to a meeting, and I was sitting in a room with people that looked like me and some people that didn't look like me. And after the presentation, which some of you probably have been to, I realized that I was sitting in a room full of millionaires. And they breathed the same air I breathe. They just didn't do the same stuff I had done or that I was currently doing. I got exposed to a different set of information. I got exposed to a different lifestyle. I got exposed to know that there was something other than a 9-to-5. Something other than living in the projects, something other than just getting married and having kids and being a company man. There was a greater life out there for me. And what was greater than that was going to be my time. I was going to have my time to where I'm not tied to a building. I'm not tied to this obligation, but I have people that I love. So I got to go and get a loan to get this done, whether it's education, whether it's a home, whether it's student loans, business loans, whatever the case may be. And nobody in my family had ever done anything in real estate, had never really opened up a successful business. Everybody thought that if you open up a business, you got to be there, not understanding that with the power of the internet, there is so much money out here, but you got to get out of a lack mindset. You got to get out of a poverty mindset. Sacrifice what you currently know for what you can. And stop saying you ain't got the ability to learn it. These people aren't special. There's nothing different about them than you except the willingness to act. I'm going to say that again. There's no difference between them and you except the willingness to act. What are you afraid of? Well, Josh, I can't, I've got these and excuses. Tell me how somebody can work on a minimum wage job making less than $12 an hour, $10 an hour, and a willingness to have discipline, to sacrifice now, instant gratification, and flip it to $500,000. What are you spending your time doing? Are you spending time developing yourself? Sacrifice watching the game this weekend. How can you say that, Josh? It's the Super Bowl. Is the Super Bowl paying you money? Maybe it is. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to bet on that it isn't. You're going to spend a lot of money, though. Somebody going to make a lot of money, though. Whether it's beer, chips, meat, grilling equipment, charcoal, drinks, chips, jerseys. How many people you know that's mad that get pay-per-view for a 30-second fight? Come on, priorities. You can do this. And I'm not saying you can't enjoy these things. But too often we go in debt to enjoy these things for our little bitty piece of heaven. What if you put money in bricks? What if you put money into an Airbnb? What if you put money into the stock market? What if you start taking up Forex or FBA, or that's going to be fulfilled by Amazon? I mean, there's so many courses out here. You could be working with Fiverr if you're into graphic design or you create logos. Some of you are phenomenal writers, but write a book and somebody will pay you to write something for their brochure. You could be a VA if you wanted to. And this is just levels of exposure to different things that I've had. I mean, digital marketing is skyrocketing. Everything's on the internet. All your promotions, learning Facebook ads or SEO, search engine optimization. And I mean, it's just things on top of things, but you got to be willing to sacrifice. What are you willing to give up? If you're a student, be willing to give up being cool right now for getting the education if it's something that you want to do. If you're an entrepreneur or you have something that you want inside of you, whether it's owning a barbershop, working for the police precinct, or if it's a situation where you think you have the next big idea, like a Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, or Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, or I mean any number of gentlemen. You got the next big thing, or you have the next big innovation, whatever that may be. You're going to need the basic knowledge, but understand that you have access to learn about finance. They say that there's a 17-year-old that's made over $100,000. But understand, when I say sacrifice, everybody wants everything for free. To go to the next level, it's not going to be free. It's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you money. But remember, we look at money like, I'll just say it like this. We see things and it's like, it's too expensive. No, instead, allow your mind to say, how can I afford it? Yes, it's too expensive now. So you say because of your base income now. But once you allow yourself to believe long enough that you can't afford it, and you put into your subconscious mind, I'm going to find opportunities because I'm operating in my gift now. I'm going to tell the universe to send me these opportunities, move these things, move these people, move these opportunities that are going to create this income toward me, whether it's in information, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in mentorship, whatever that may be. Be willing to spend the money. Make that sacrifice, because when you see spin or you hear spin, we're going to say investment. And when we make an investment, what are we looking for? ROI, return on investment. Invest in your mind, invest in yourself, and imagine what it does as it broadens your horizon, as it gives you a skill. You're worth it, but you got to be willing to make the sacrifice. This is probably going to be a series. This won't be the last video, but I think this video is long enough. Again, and I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I just want to lead us in your spirit, man. What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to sacrifice to become what you were meant to be, to reach that goal, to reach higher than you've ever reached before, to stretch yourself beyond to where you are, where you have a goal so big, you have to become something new to accomplish it. It's not always the results. It's not always the outcomes. It's not always the destination. We have to begin to enjoy the process and the journey, because that's where you're going to get the fortitude. That's where you're going to get the understanding. That's where you're going to become, and you're going to get that fulfillment. We'll catch you in the next video. Keep evolving.